Okay, so let me say hello to everyone, and this is my presentations about brainstorming techniques. So before we go to brainstorming techniques, let's begin with the definition of brainstorming, right? So brainstorming is a great first step in writing your paper and can help you gain clarity. Sorry, I move it a little bit. Okay, brainstorming is a great first step in writing your paper and can help you gain clarity. Whether you have too many ideas and need clarity or not enough and need inspirations, the techniques below can be used to both conceptualize ideas for a topic and explore those ideas further. So brainstorming is the first step in writing that you sit down and you try to you try to gather all the information that you get into pieces of pre-writing. And it doesn't mean that you need to be correct in grammar, you need to focus on vocabulary, you need to focus on style of writing. Whatever you want, whatever pop up, whatever come up into your brain, you have to write them down. Okay, so that's what we call brainstorming. Okay, for example, I give you a topic about traffic, and then you start writing, right? So what things, what ideas about traffic pop up into your brain, you write them down, right? For example, I ask you to write about reflection paper, what you have learned, and then you think what you have learned, and then you write down, list down. Okay, that's what we call brainstorming, right? But brainstorming, there are many techniques, right? So we will begin one by one. Number one, listing. So listing, for example, listing, this is the first technique. So you can decide what you are trying to accomplish by listing. Listing, list down. List down. Are you looking for a potential paper topic, support your arguments, or more creative title? The key to listing is to refrain from self-censorship. That's the main thing. That's the main point. The key to listing is to refrain from self-censorship. Like you don't focus too much on yourself, right? Let your idea flow. Okay, let your idea flow. Write down any and every idea. Don't cross anything out. So like you see in the example. Okay, so you have to write like this. Whatever you can think of, write down. When you are really out of idea, go back over your list, cross out idea that won't work for you, circle idea that you like. So when you run out of your idea, when you end up your idea, you don't have any more idea, you stop for a while and then you come back and you cross out something that's not relevant to your topic, something that is not what you want, you cross it out, right? Circle the idea that you like and then you can circle what you like, what you wrote down. If you are just discover a paper topic, a good next step is to put the middle in the middle of the cluster. Okay, and then they will introduce you a cluster. What a cluster. Okay, so we finish number one, listing. You just list down what pop up into your idea about the topic, and then you will get this. Okay, clustering is get out a blank piece of paper, right? Write your paper topics in the middle and draw an overall around it. This is the example of clustering, and this is very common one. Everyone like it, everyone use it, right? Draw line out from the center and fill in new oval with the subtopic. You could also write questions, right? You can write questions. Keep branching out of this oval as new idea come to you. Again, try not to hold back. Just let your idea flow on two pages or two page or pages. Okay. So this is the topic, Brazilian culture. And then you think about, okay, what Brazilian culture do you want to talk? Okay, you talk about music, you talk about art and history, right? So in history, what you want to talk? Colonization, indigenous. How about art? You want to talk about folk. You want to talk about folk like hip hop, streets, architectures, music contemporary, bossa nova and samba music, Afro influence, right? So these are the things that you come up when you talk about Brazilian culture. So you can map it. In other words, we can say mappings, right? Mapping, but in this paper we call it clustering. Okay. How about journalistic questions? Uh, Journalistic question is like the question that journalists ask every time, right? So this method provides you with the tool necessary to research your topic by using the question often used in journalism: who, what, when, where, why, and how. So usually, when you get a topic, you ask a question: who, what, when, where, and how. Write X on this question on a sheet of paper or a set of paper. Leave a few lines in between. Examine your topic critically and answer each of the questions as thoroughly as possible. Okay. Once you are finished, review your answer. Do you have more information about some of the questions, but are lacking information in others? Are your answers fairly balanced? And with this new insight, how might you move forward? Use your answer to help clarify your thesis or create an outline. Okay, so uh, to be honest, this is not really practical for essay writing, but it's practical for when you want to report, when you want to write something related to reflection and report. You use journaling questions, and then it works best. But if you want to write an essay and some other type of essay, somehow it doesn't fit much, like comparing to listing and clustering. So listing and clustering are the best. Okay, this is the outlining. I guess you know what is outline, right? Outline is like content. So outline is very constructive, it's very formal. So if you want to use outlining, it's very effective, but it takes you more time. For example, you need to introduce your projects to readers, right? So number one, you introduce it, and then what are the supporting details? You try to get supporting detail, right? Number two, map out a possible structure of the body of your paper, and you gotta do this, right? Now I raise one example to fill it in so that you can have better understanding. For example, I say there are three causes of traffic accident in Cambodia, right? So I am going to write this is a statement. I will write, okay, there are three causes of traffic accident, and then I will go to number one. This is the statement, and then I go to supporting number one. Okay, because of alcohol, drinking alcohol, and then you have ABCD to explain why drinking alcohol is the cause, right? And then I go to number two because of road condition, and then I will have A, B, C, D, right? A, B, C, Y. Uh, this is the supporting detail to support why road condition is a cause of traffic accident. Last but not least, it's about driver characteristic, and then I will have A, B, C, D, right? And I will have more point at conclusion. What conclusion I want to write down, okay? And then when you go to write a draft, you can just develop it into a longer one, explain it in detail, and that's it. You get it, right? Okay, that's what we call outlining. Continue. Next is free writing. You know the word free, right? I guess the title tell the meaning. So free writing is you when you write something freely without concerning about everything. So as you can see in the example, you don't need to concern about everything. You just write down wherever you want to write, which point you want to write down, and whatever you can think of, write down. Now you likely have a better idea of your paper direction. Pick an area to focus on, such as body paragraph. Get out a piece of paper, a pen, set timer for 5 up to 10 minutes and start writing. So usually brainstorming, the time allowed is only 5 to 10 minutes. If you use more than 10 minutes, it's not a brainstorming, okay? So it will not be useful for you, okay? So this is not the time to be perfect. Instead, you need to keep your pen moving as fast as you can. Don't stop, okay? You just write down endlessly. You don't need to stop. Even you have nothing to say, write blah blah blah. You get it? So sometimes if you write down and then you don't, you run out of your idea, you don't stop thinking. You just write down blah 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 to keep your brain thinking, right? If you run out of your idea and then you stop writing, your brain will stop working the same. So if you run out of your idea and you just write blah 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 blah, and then when you come up with new idea, continue, right? Something until new idea come to you, okay? The act of writing will help you to come up with new idea, right? So the act of writing blah 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 will help you to come up with the new idea, okay? So when you are done, read over what you wrote and type up what has potential. You are on the way. Okay, so you can reorganize what you wrote down, and something is not necessary, you don't need to pick it up. Okay, so uh, to sum up, brainstorming, everyone, I like to give you conclusion. Brainstorming is the first step in writing paragraph or essay, and it's about how to generate your idea from your brain quickly, as fast as possible, and usually it takes like 5 to 10 minutes only. And there are a few techniques for you to do it. You can choose to do listing, list down what pop up into your mind. Clustering, mapping, you map it, or you want to use journalistic question, but somehow it's not really practical to every type of essay. Or you can do outlinings, and last but not least is free writing. Okay, so free writings, outlinings, clustering, listing are strongly suggested for you to use it, right? So that is the end for brainstorming techniques. And if you have questions about brainstorming techniques, you can further ask me, whether it is in Telegram. I prefer in Telegram because it's good for communication, for messaging. Okay, so that is the end for my video explanation about brainstorming or brainstorming technique. Thank you so much everyone for your uh, times and attention. Thank you.